Well, good afternoon, everybody. I've watched Daniel Farke's press conference, so you don't have to. We're going to get into the minor bits, but also the major bits of this press conference. Massive, massive news coming your way from Daniel Farke's press conference. We're going to be speaking about Bristol City toward the back end of the show today as well. Make sure you stay in tune. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get into it. So, guys, the worst news possible to kick off this show this Friday afternoon. 12:30 kickoff tomorrow. I was looking forward to a little bit of a balance of Nonto and Ramazani. Could we have got that for maybe 10 weeks going forward? Could we have seen that absolute equilibrium that's going to tear apart teams? The level that these two were displaying was something as a combination I think is the best in this division in terms of either flank. That has now been severely disturbed. Yes, everybody, largely Ramazani, according to Daniel Farke, will be out for 4 to 6 weeks, and we have to say that's him just getting back on the grass. Match fitness could be the best part of 2 months here, or maybe more. An absolutely devastating blow for Leeds United, everybody, as it says on the title. And why? Maybe some of you guys will say, look, Connor, we've got this option, we've got this option, we've got this option. You're absolutely bang on. Do we have depth? Yes. Do we have international depth? 100%. But what largely Ramazani was bringing to this Leeds United squad cannot be understated. The starting 11, I feel, was enhanced. And as soon as he went off against Watford the other night, it significantly decreased. Not only did it decrease against Watford, for me, when Largi Ramazani went off against Norwich, it decreased. When he went off against Sunderland, it decreased. The level that this guy has brought to this Leeds United side, the defensive prowess, but going forward with his snapshots, with his balance, with his left, with his right foot, with his shot accuracy, what Largi Ramazani brings to this Leeds United side cannot be understated. It is a massive blow for Leeds United. 4 to 6 weeks going into the December period, of which is hectic. We're hoping he's back for that one. We're hoping he's match fit, and we're hoping he's back to the standard that he's displayed so far at Leeds United. But overall, a huge blow for the Whites. So then the question comes to par. What do we do? Is it Manor Solomon coming in on that left-hand side? Is it going to be Dan James coming in off that right-hand side? I think for me, everybody, in the 15 minutes you saw Dan James play the other night, he showed more than Manor Solomon, for me, showed in 70 minutes. Football's a meritocracy. They've both had similar periods out. Dan James showed it within 15 minutes. Dan James starts. Do I feel that he's a more effective player right now than Manor Solomon? I think with Willie Gnonto on the left-hand side, from a defensive perspective and a continuity perspective, he's going to be big on that left-hand side, helping out potentially an Isaac Schmidt. So I think you need him on that side. I think on the right-hand side, someone like Dan James, the combination between him and Jayden Bogle, I think could be really effective. Aronson in the middle. You've also got a more pressy and effective central and right side as well, with Aronson and Dan James, which I don't know if Bristol City will be able to deal with the calibre of player they have at the back, with Pring out and Rob Dickey being out as well. I think Leeds can really effectively win the ball in Bristol City's half, recover us high up, and effectively punish them. But the problem is now, with Ramazani being out, that high level, that Premier League level of ruthlessness, where you win the ball high up, but then you punish the opposition, has definitely been taken away from Leeds. But for me, it's got to be DJ starting. So what else was he mentioning? On slightly positive news, he was talking about Joshua Guilavogui. He was speaking about the impact that he's going to be making on this Leeds United side. Positivity, leadership, experience, Champions League experience. And we spoke about Guilavogui coming in around about 3 weeks ago now. I pigeoned him on my Twitter account as being the free agent I believe Leeds United will go for. Free agent at the time, 34 years of age, versatility being key, can play across that back line in terms of centre-back, left and right, can play defensive midfield and central midfield, and his last appearances was in the Bundesliga. Obviously, Daniel Farke, very, very familiar with the Bundesliga and Mainz. So, brilliant signing by Leeds United, in my opinion. And as we were speaking about on the video, which you can check out, everybody, 7 reasons as to why Leeds have signed Joshua Guilavogui, I was talking about the impact that he's going to make in terms of mentorship and helping the young group. And that is what Daniel Farke spoke about today as well. So I think this guy's got a massive impact to make on this side. Now, the big thing, the big takeaway, and as Daniel Farke reiterated today, the issue is obviously going to be his match fitness. Now, he's not played football in 2, 3, 4 months. Is he going to be able to come into this Leeds United side? Well, guys, there might be a point of which he has to. With the injury record that Leeds are having at this moment in time, which we're going to get into in the next point, Leeds might not have an option but to start Joss, because at this moment in time, Leeds players are going down like, flies. It's unbelievable. Like, and it's not just it feels like Leeds players are going down. It's Leeds players like Largy, like Max, like Elia, like Ethan. They're going out, and they're out for big periods of time. So this is where you've got to trust your squad. You've got to trust that rotation. And this is why, for me, Daniel Farke needs to start with Isaac Schmidt in this game in particular, because I think he's got to start trusting some of the players that he's brought in recruitment-wise. Would he have started Tanaka? Would he have started Rothwell if Ethan and Elia were fit? I don't think he would have done. But for me, in terms of pecking order on that left-hand side, you've got Isaac Schmidt, who was banging one in against Trabzonspor in the UEFA Conference League qualifiers the night before Leeds United signed him. And with the greatest of respect, you've got Sam Byram being a bench warmer, which he is naturally as a utility player. But you bought Isaac Schmidt in to trust him as that rotation player. You're going to have to use that rotation. You have used that rotation in central midfield, but you were forced to do it. Would you have exercised that when Leeds had multiple games? I don't think Farke would have done in that central midfield, if we're all being brutally honest with ourselves. So he's got to trust it right now. I know he's got Byram there. I know Sam Byram is the lad who he's had previously, and he mentioned him first here in the press conference. He was talking about rotation options on that left-hand side. He mentioned Sam Byram before Isaac Schmidt. But for me, you've got to start trusting Schmidt. And I'd like to see him on that left-hand side being supplemented by someone like Willian Yonto, who can take that load off him when it comes to defensive winger, a defensive winger, because I think he's very good at that now, Willian Yonto. He's added that to his game. But also, I think he'd be a lot more available on the overlap than someone like Sam Byram, and Nonto can find him on that overlap frequently. So I think what Daniel Farke's got to start doing is really trusting that rotational aspect. And I think he's not really done that so far this season. He's been forced to do it, but now he has that option with Byram and Schmidt to go for Schmidt and to go for that sort of next era of Leeds United and not just fall back to what you know. So also, there was something on timescales, everybody. Timescales on Ethan Ampadu, on Elia Guev. We don't know yet. We have no sort of indication on that, which is pretty crippling, to be quite honest with you. It's a little bit like you're thinking, have we not got like even a January or February? Elia Guev, there's nothing on him as well. I know at the very start, it was very much like Ethan Ampadu. It's going to be sort of a 3-month job. Guev, it was 5 months, wasn't it? And according to the Bulgarian boss, it was pretty much, it could be the whole season. And we know he's going to be back in March. Well, that's what the Bulgarian boss said. He's going to be March. But then he's got to be match fit. He's got to get to that standard. And that's the thing that maybe people miss a lot of the time. It's players coming back, but it's then being match fit, as we're going to speak about with Largy Ramazani, or we have spoken about Largy Ramazani, but it's then being match fit and then playing well as well, on top of being on that fitness where you can play 70, 80, 90 minutes. So it's a lot to contend with here, and we need a little bit of luck right now. And we're just not getting it when it comes to these injuries. It's not, you look at Watford, Festi went down, Sissoko went down, Kiembe went down, and all of them came back on. We have one player go down in I thought beyond. So I thought it was a bit of a reckless tackle from Festi on Ramazani. I don't think it was needed either. And he's out for 6 weeks. It feels a bit of a calamity at the minute. And Daniel Farke, everybody, was speaking. He was asked by the journalist, interestingly enough, about the next step, the next phase, and how many points Leeds United might need to get to win the division this season. Now, if we do look at the points tally at the minute, people, I genuinely believe, and I've felt this the other night, and I uttered it to my old man, I think we might be looking at something relatively similar to what we saw last season. Now, let me explain. I think the general prognosis when you're looking at this division is that the division is not good enough. Agreed. But similarly to last season, you had 3 or 4 teams that were way better than the rest. Now, Leeds United could be the best of even the best in this division. But I feel that you are not going to see Sunderland go away. I thought a litmus test was going to be a Luton side who had just beaten their rivals, Watford, 3-0 at home. We know sort of Watford were tricky customers for us as well in that game, but Luton winning that game 3-0, really good win. Sunderland again at home. The game afterwards, they played really well, but they lost again. And it does remind me a little bit of Ipswich, just that sort of threadbare squad of Sunderland's, but you're getting sort of Mundle putting the ball in the back of the net. You're getting Chris Rigg coming up trumps like we saw with Sam Morsey last season and like we saw with Connor Chaplin and all this sort of stuff last season. I just feel with Sunderland, they're not going away at this moment in time. 25 points, and you've got to think to yourself, what, they're just going to have a sudden drop-off? A sudden drop-off where their standard, their performance, their style of play, their system is just going to go to pot. Like every single player is going to go off form. They just need sort of 2 or 3 players off form, and then potentially, you know, the others come in, which their rotation off the bench has been pretty decent when you look at it. So I'm looking at Sunderland and I'm thinking, I think they're going to be there for the long haul, people. I think a lot of their recruitment over the years is built to this point in terms of building youth, selling them on, but then bringing more youth in and developing a side around that. And I think they've managed to do that right now. They've got some constants there in Patterson and O'Nien and all this sort of stuff. I think Burnley, we know Burnley are going to be there toward the back end of the season. They've beaten us at home. I don't think they were that impressive against us, but I think against the rest, like Sunderland, against the rest, they're going to be miles better than them. I think Sheffield United, they've had a couple of losses, but they'll come back towards the back end of the season. So as Daniel Farke has almost said in this press conference, he feels it's going to be something essentially similar. Maybe not 90 points, but it is going to be a high points tally because we said all of the same things last season. Oh, they're going to fall off. Oh, they're going to fall off. Oh, they're going to fall off. The thing is, everybody, when you've got 3 or 4 teams who are just a cut above the rest, every time these 4 teams play against the rest, they beat them or they get points against them and they just don't lose. You know, Sunderland have lost, what, 2 games all season? You know, so... and obviously we've only lost the 1, but they've won 8 games. 8 games. So I think Daniel Farke's sort of spot on when he's predicting that it's going to be right till the end, this one. And I think I'm sort of realising that as we're going on game week on game week on game week, because we're seeing the same results and we're seeing the same team sort of perform. And they've also got January windows, as we have. And I'm not saying that we're in trouble here, by the way. I still think we're going to come second or potentially even win the league. But we're going to have to get very decent points tallies, in my opinion, to a very, very decent, a very healthy points tally, of which you might be surprised by how close it is to last season. Well, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Everybody, listen, Bristol City, I'm going to go with a 3-1 Leeds United win. I'm going to go Dan James, 2 goals, and I'm going to go Willie Nyonto. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Would you go with Joseph? Would you go with Perot? Would you go with Solomon? Would you go with James? What are your thoughts on Guilavogui? How devastated are you by Largi Ramazani comments as well, everybody? Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Head on over to the Patreon for bonus content. Check out the latest football prize, everybody, which is unbelievable. It's on my Twitter now, but it's in the link in the description below. Enter for about £3.99 for hospitality, shirts signed, all this sort of stuff. We're sponsored by IPM Group UK. All of your surveillance, CCTV needs. Keep it within the Leeds United community. It's been an absolute pleasure, everyone. I'll see you in a bit.